Half in the bag.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Half in the Bag. I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Rich.
And today's episode is sponsored by Fandango. If you want to order your movie tickets 2 months in advance and then get to the theater and have them have no record of you ordering them, use Fandango.
It's finally here, the cinematic equivalent of Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun. It's Star Wars, The Last Jedi. Seemingly endless action, no time to stop for anything, so many vistas, animals and robots, endless death. Rian Johnson is the Undertaker of Star Wars. He put it in a grave, or so the internet says. The film was simply delightful. Or was it? So Mike, you wrote that intro, and you wrote down, this film is delightful. Is that, I need to know, is that sarcasm?
I also wrote this film as the cinematic equivalent of Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun. I was thinking about that while I watched the film and I chuckled to myself.
Close your eyes, Marge. And now you're ready for a night on the town.
Homer, you've got it set on whore.
So Mike, what does that mean? What did you think of The Last Jedi?
I don't want to say it's a mess, but it's messy.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it.
The most obvious thing to me is it probably ends about half an hour after it should have ended.
The length is an issue, and we'll get to that.
Length is an issue, structure is an issue, and pacing is an issue.
Don't forget, excessive misfirings of comedy.
Yes, we'll try and say all this stuff before we get into spoilers. I don't know about you guys, every piece of comedy fell flat for me.
Yes. I felt the Disney Marvel influence there.
It reminded me of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And the thing I complain about Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is they'll have kind of like maybe an emotional moment or a dramatic moment, and then it's undercut with a joke. Mm-hmm. It's not as distracting in that because the characters themselves are silly and funny. And here, everything's like dead serious. All these characters are completely, serious and focused. And then there's like an out-of-place joke.
This is a movie about people who are either bitter and old, lost and confused, or in a desperate situation struggling for survival. And in all of those situations, the humor is just completely out of place. It did not belong in the movie.
When Luke throws the lightsaber,
oh yeah,
there was like dead silence, and I heard,
Does this mean we're in spoilers?
We're in spoilers already,
That's
folks.
all you get for non-spoilers.
I did want to say one thing that I was surprised by. I was surprised that I knew Rian Johnson was directing the film, and I liked Looper. And then I was like, Rian Johnson, he's a cool dude. I like Looper. And I looked it up, and I don't think I've seen any other films of his.
He's only done a few. He did Brick,
yeah,
and Looper, and this.
And
Maybe
so
one or two more.
Looper worked because it's a little time travel thing, right? I know Rian Johnson, I think, watches our programming. There's the famous tweet where somebody asked him, like, are you going to watch the Half in the Bag or something like that? And he said, I like those guys, but I fear them. Something strange like that. And then, to my shock, the end credit was written and directed by. Mm-hmm. Disney gave the second film of this major franchise to some guy. Mm-hmm. Instead of the committee. And to me, that was shocking. You can complain about The Force Awakens being too safe and committee-like, and think tank, and it's basically a retreading of A New Hope, and all the pieces are in place, and it's nostalgia. And then you could complain that they did that, but here they did the opposite. They gave the movie to some guy and said, make a movie and just do whatever the fuck you want. And it's the complete opposite. So no one has the right to complain now if you complained about The Force Awakens. You know what I mean?
Well, you mentioned The Force Awakens, which everybody liked when it came out, and then everybody decided they didn't like anymore.
I was the one guy who was lukewarm on that when it came out, and that's not a goddamn pun. It was everything I was expecting it to be, which was, it was okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not in love with it. I didn't hate it. It's a competent movie, and really, after the prequels, as far as the Star Wars fans are concerned, that's all it had to be. It had to be competent.
People act like they're clever for discovering that it's a remake of A New Hope, where it's like, well, of course it is. Like, they weren't tricking anybody.
No.
The whole point of that movie was to remind people what the feeling of Star Wars was. After the fucking prequels, you make your safe movie. You make a safe movie that introduces some new characters. And that's really what that movie is more about than the plot, is setting up these new characters. Once that's out of the way, now is the time to go off and do your own thing, which this movie does, but it's a mess.
Ryan has written a story that's unexpected but right.
A lot of the doing its own thing to me just felt like a reaction, though, to accusations of it being, the Force Awakens being a knockoff of A New Hope. Well, we're gonna do the opposite of some things.
Some of the stuff that happens, people are going to be like, oh my God.
Yes, I wanted to bring that up. It's as if Ryan Johnson, I'm going to say Ryan Johnson because he's the writer. Are there any other ghostwriters on this project?
There's probably 20, I don't know. I'm sure there's certain stipulations that Disney had, but
Yeah,
but as far as like the shaping of the story, I mean, I
did
guess
they have a writer's room and a bunch of people said, hey, do this? Or did he just sit down and write a script? I mean, if he did, that's something that we always push for, that we are big proponents of, is the writer-director.
Yeah.
The guy who crafts, or gal, who crafts a film out of his or her own imagination, and then they make the movie that they want to make. Like
and it
George
feels like
Lucas.
somebody's vision.
And it feels like somebody's vision. We always champion that over the committee. So it seems like Ryan Johnson went and said, okay, you think Snoke's the Emperor, you think Kylo Ren is the new Darth Vader, you know, all this stuff. You complain about too many, we love lightsabers. No one hits a lightsaber into another lightsaber in the entire film. And it's like antimatter. Like it's like he took all of your expectations and twisted them, but did he twist them too far and too strangely and too absurdly?
I wouldn't say too strangely, I would just say too much. It's like every 5 minutes it was it starts right off the bat with, Luke throwing the lightsaber. Or it's like that's the big dramatic end moment of the last movie. Never mind. Oh, who's Snoke? Who's he gonna be? As people have been speculating for 2 years. Oh, he's just a guy. And I was okay with that one.
It's like he trolled the audience in a very small way.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's like
Which is admirable in a way.
Is he a secret asshole? Did he troll the audience? Because I was thinking, is this film a joke? Many times.
I respect that. In theory, I like a lot of what he's trying to do with this movie. In theory. In execution, most of it doesn't work.
There was a moment where it culminated and it really got interesting, like philosophically.
Well, by far, for me, the most interesting thing in the film was Luke Skywalker having rejected the Force and the Jedi.
That's another in theory. In theory, that's a great idea. In execution, I don't know.
Well, I mean, little detail. You got little details like Luke's playing a bitter old man, but then he has too many goofy one-liners.
Oh yeah.
If you're going for the Luke is bitter and through with it, and he's just done with it, don't do the one-liner jokes. Like I understand Rey handing him the lightsaber and him rejecting the lightsaber, but just the comic timing, the comic nature of whoop, didn't work.
Right. It is about, okay, we're gonna forge our own path, we're gonna go our own way. Yeah, we're not the old Star Wars, but then the problem is everything that the new characters try and do is like a horrible failure, and they end up at the end of the movie exactly where they are at the beginning of the movie. This is wheel spinning the movie because no one accomplishes anything.
That's very true.
It feels like a series of B plots, like a sitcom where you have your A story and your B story. This is all B stories because there's no larger. Well, it doesn't feel like they're building or going anywhere.
The larger story was supposed to be Rey, Snoke, Kylo Ren, but then they added 5 B stories. One with BB-8. That was a B story. That joke didn't land, see?
Who are you, Ryan Johnson?
That's how it feels. And then Laura Dern shows up with pink hair, and then...
Why the pink hair? That was driving me nuts.
Why the character in general?
That's the problem, is there's that part where she is not telling Poe Dameron what their actual plan is. So he goes off on his own to, and that's his arc, is that he's a hothead and he takes risks and he needs to learn to work with others or whatever.
He needs to learn to blindly follow authority.
Yes, because it turns out that Laura Dern's character had the secret plan all along, and you're just like, why didn't she just tell him about it? Exactly. Other than we need to make things happen in the movie.
We need 5 B plots.
Finn and Rose, who I liked Rose until she makes the stupidest decision ever at the end. But she was fine for most of the movie, but her and Finn, this was like a we got to give them something to do storyline. They go off to this stupid like Las Vegas planet where I was having prequel flashbacks. That felt like a prequel type thing. But they go off to do their little adventure there. They fail horribly, so they come back, and that entire last half hour was worthless.
Well, Princess Leia flies out into space.
Well, okay, we have to talk about that because that's already like a meme already. Her flying in space and flying back to the ship, and people were tweeting at us like, that Leia scene, you guys are gonna laugh hysterically, which we didn't. It was weird, and it was sort of awkwardly executed, but it wasn't like hysterical. It was more, it's emblematic of the...
strange.
It was strange, which there's lots of that in the movie. And I endorse strange stuff, but that particular moment is emblematic of the entire movie, which is Princess Leia's on the ship, she gets blown out of the ship, and then she flies back to the ship, and then she's right back where she was before she got blown out of the ship.
Right.
And that's the whole movie.
Did Carrie Fisher 100% finish filming?
I didn't see any jarring, like Carrie Fisher was digitally inserted here or anything
No.
strange like that. I think she finished all of her scenes. I mean, there is an ending to her character. Ironically, she's the one that lives out of Luke, Han, and Leia.
They gambled wrong there, didn't they?
I mean, it's such a shame. You know, it's like someone shot John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison all in one night. I mean, that's how I feel. Mark David Chapman had a machine gun. Strange editing moments. I don't know about you guys, but the ending, spoilers alert, Snoke, where Snoke dies, right? And it was almost like a reverse bait and switch, because Snoke's on the throne, right? And then he's like, he makes what's her name, Rey, fly up to Kylo Ren, and he's like, kill her, Kylo Ren. You know, prove who you are loyal to. Take your lightsaber out and use use your lightsaber to stab your main villain that you are going to kill and betray. And then it cuts to like the Luke lightsaber slowly turning like, yeah, we know what's going to happen. Like, he's spelling it out for you. And I thought he was going to kill Rey. I'm like, it's too obvious.
It was so obvious that they were going to do something different.
Yes, and then he cuts Snoke in half, and then they're like, yeah, he falls down, and it's like, oh, okay.
You know,
Snoke in his gold lame outfit, and he's like the ultimate villain, and he couldn't see that betrayal. No, but Kylo Ren has proved to be inept his entire life.
Yeah.
And then somehow magically he's able to blind Snoke.
Yeah, there's a great, speaking of him being, Snoke being able to tell he's inept, there's a great moment early on that's kind of a little bit meta, where he's like, you got beat by a girl with a lightsaber. It's like, because those people complained about that in the last movie.
Yeah.
Even though they established that he was injured, and that's why she was able to.
he got shot in the kidney and he was bleeding to death.
But how could Rey match him in a fight?
Because he was barely experienced.
Yes.
And so was she.
No, it's worse than the prequels. Because it's
I know
like
you're
a
doing
new
a
hope.
voice. You're doing a voice. You're doing the internet guy voice. There was one comedy line that kind of felt okay to me was when, like, he's like, "What do you know about the Force?" She's like, "You can make rocks float and tell people to do things." And then people chuckled and it felt a little silly, but I was like, "Hey, that's about right. That's kind of what she knows about the Force. She knows nothing."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "That's a cute moment." That was
And they
nice.
bring it back at the end when she has to lift rocks.
And then your eyes roll back in your head so fast.
All right, so Snoke and the throne room and the betrayal. You know why I think that was so obvious? Because in his head, the real twist was after Kylo Ren switching sides, he goes, "No, I really didn't switch sides. I'm still evil." That was the real twist.
Well, yeah.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Yeah.
Forget about the last 20 minutes. He's
The
still
twist
evil.
is there is no twist.
And that was disappointing, because like for all the talk of like we want to forge our own, we don't want to repeat the past, forge our own direction. When they're like, let's team up together and we'll start a new world, a new system together. That's like, I want to see that.
I like that Kylo Ren's this is all bullshit, good, evil, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Basically, let's just tear it all down. And
Until the end when it's good versus evil.
and then he's like, well, let's start by blowing up all of your friends. How about you don't blow up anybody, just like You and Rey hold hands and take over the First Order. Fire General Huckster. Get out. You're fired. And then put it on the intercom. Okay, everybody. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm in charge. Me and Rey are in charge, and we're gonna spread peace and equality throughout the galaxy.
Yeah, guys, so we're gonna back off this whole killing my mother thing, and we're just gonna go settle down, and we're gonna create a government. We're gonna build some dams. I hear the people need dams.
Yeah, the only reason all those people are evil is because they're led by an evil person. You get rid of him, and just tell those people what to do.
It's like the Star Wars, the world outside of things shooting each other, it's just a blank slate. Anything could be going on there. I don't know that the First Order is doing anything evil.
That's true.
They did blow up some planets in the last movie.
That's true. Yeah. But that was when they were led by the evil man.
That's true.
The evil non-character, who they realized was a stupid character, so they just killed him off.
Snoke, are you talking
Snoke.
about? Yeah, good old Snoke. And Mark Hamill, he plays a character called Luke Skywalker, and he shows up at the end of the film, and I'm like, he's some kind of ghost or a projection of himself. They cleverly though showed his X-wing buried under the water, submerged in the water, I should say, to kind of like, how the fuck's Luke gonna get off the island? Oh, his X-wing's there. And then he shows up, and then his gray is gone from his beard, and he has like a toupee on, and he looks like Billy Mays. and just like, and then he takes out his blue lightsaber.
That we've already seen get broken in half.
And I'm like, wait a minute. He has his Return of the Jedi green lightsaber that he built. Remember that one? They show it.
Yes, I remember the.
And I'm like, wait, Rey and Finn, or who's
Ken?
Ken. Rey and Ken.
Ken now.
They break the lightsaber in half. So I'm like, how does he have a blue lightsaber now? Oh, it's a ghost. Can we talk about Yoda and how Yoda appears, and as a ghost has the ability to call lightning down from the sky somehow?
To do what Luke was going to do anyway.
It was pretty awesome to see an actual puppet, though.
You know what's weird? Can I just say something just really strange?
Okay.
And I don't know if it's dementia setting in or something's wrong with me. And this may shock you. We watched the trailer for a Garden Gnome movie.
Oh, yes.
And at the end of the Garden Gnome movie, there was a Garden Gnome who was naked and had like a G-string on.
And he's doing a booty dance.
And his butt was dancing. For a moment, I thought Yoda did that in this. And I confused the two.
That's legitimate dementia.
That's dementia.
And I was like, do you guys remember when Yoda was dancing in front of the fire? And then I was like, wait a minute. Oh, wait, that was...
All right, it's time to put you in the home, Mike.
That was in the Garden Gnome movie. I really thought that happened.
He was awful jovial, Yoda. Was Yoda Frank Oz? He sounded weird.
Yeah, that was Frank Oz.
Okay.
He was at the premiere, and so there was speculation why he
Oh,
was
really?
at the premiere.
Oh, is that why?
I'm like, Frank Oz would go to the premiere. He would be invited to the fucking premiere. He's Frank Oz.
He's at the premiere of Force Awakens, I
Yeah,
remember.
it's just
Okay.
he's Frank Oz.
Yeah.
Well, he would be at the premiere. He gets a ticket. He gets a front row seat. And then is Yoda back? And I'm like, what the fuck? No, Yoda's not back. Oh. Oh, and
He's
then
back and he's more rubbery than ever.
Luke just turns and he's like, oh, Master Yoda. Like he had
He visits all the time.
I guess he must visit a lot.
I want to see that movie. The two of them in isolation on this island.
Yoda, leave me alone.
It's like The Odd Couple, but with Luke and a ghost Yoda. I'd watch that.
Renowned Jedi, I see you have.
What shall we do now?
More blue milk I require.
Go milk thing. Yoda want milk.
It's the central conflict of the movie. Luke is mad that he always has to get the milk.
You know what I thought was odd? Oh, in Empire, Yoda acts like a crazy asshole at first, right?
R2!
And he takes R2D2's hot dog, and he's like hitting him with the stick, and he's acting like
dog?
R2D2.
He's got a thing of food.
He's got a thing of food,
yeah.
and Yoda's like, nom, nom.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
he's like digging through the garbage, and his little butt sticking out, and he's acting like kind of like a wild animal because he's testing Luke, and Luke's like, you're making a mess and all that stuff, and then there's that moment when he's like, come into my little hut. And then he's like, take me to Master Yoda. And then Yoda starts talking to Obi-Wan. And there's that realization that that's the Jedi Master. And Yoda's demeanor completely changes.
I'm not afraid. You will be. You will be.
In this, his ghost is acting like crazy Yoda. He's like, "Hey, you Koopa, Koopa, Koopa!" And I'm like, why is he acting like fake Yoda?
Oh, Mike, in the Yoda
Can you
standalone.
explain that?
In the Yoda standalone film, we're gonna see Yoda's frat days when he acts like that all the time.
He was gonna like start fighting with a porg over a little piece of food. Give me that! Yum yum. Why is Ghost Yoda not acting like?
The real Yoda, and not the face that Yoda was putting on. Yeah.
Tweet at us, Ryan Johnson. Let us know why Yoda's all goofy and shit.
Have you seen Star Wars? Because Luke didn't think that a Jedi Master would be a little green guy. And his concepts of what is a Jedi Master just blown out the window. A Jedi Master doesn't have to be a big, tough, strong guy. It can be a little green midget. A little green puppet, sorry. That was the magic of Star Wars. Now it's gone. They flushed it down the fucking toilet. There is no force. Looks like you don't have to have anything special about you to become a Jedi. Oh, really?
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
And Yoda has a message that I think is supposed to be kind of reverberated through the rest of the movie, which is where he's like, we learn the most from our failures. Because every character in this movie fails constantly, but nobody really learned anything from it. Maybe that'll pay off in that. Poe Dameron, he's the only character in this movie with an arc.
He learned don't take risks because you're just going to get caught.
Right.
And you're just going to get a whole bunch of people killed.
Yes.
Listen to your superiors blindly.
And Finn learned a very valuable lesson from Rose.
Which was?
Which is do not sacrifice yourself for the greater good. Yeah. Don't take chances, because love will save us.
But wait, Laura Dern sacrificed herself for the greater good, fucked up the whole Imperial fleet in a badass move. Wouldn't that have been better as Princess Leia's character?
It is very sad. It was sad seeing her in this. There was one really kind of nice little touching moment when Luke comes in at the end.
Oh yeah.
And he hands her the little dice from the Millennium Falcon. I was like, oh.
Yeah. When seeing actual like Luke and Leia on screen together, that was that moment that we didn't get in The Force Awakens, was Han meeting Luke. We also don't get to see Luke's reaction to Han's death. Very strange editing, very strange pacing, very strange dialogue. The opening sequence when Poe Dameron is prank calling.
Oh God, that was when I was really worried. The movie got better as it went along.
Bizarre.
I forgot about that.
Where he's doing like please holds, like they're on a phone.
Yes.
Which does that even make sense in the Star Wars universe?
And then he says your mama.
He says a your mama joke. He's like, I'm on hold for your mother or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening? Yeah. But then the action stuff was fun after that, where he's like, he's too small that they can't take him out, when he's flying around to take out their guns. I like that. But then they had the bomber ships come in, and they're gonna drop the bombs because gravity exists in space. Maybe that's nitpicky, but I noticed that, and I was like, they're just gonna drop down?
They got magnetrons on them. They're self-guided bombs.
Oh.
Little tiny thrusters or something.
Nothing in Star Wars has to make any kind of sense. I bought that as the direct World War II aerial combat homage
that's fair
it was.
So one bomber did the job. Did they have to send in 30 of them?
Well, 29 of them got blowed up.
They were smart. They knew all these people were gonna fucking die.
Maybe you could just put a few of those bombs on an X-Wing, and then like 30 X-Wings that are fast, all drop 5 bombs each.
Hey.
It's a really good idea. Rich, you should be a military tactician for the rebellion.
Oh my God, these ideas make so much sense! It's so obvious there's no gravity in space!
So if the bombs are self-propelled, which they would have to be, why don't they just launch them from a distance of 500 million miles?
Going really fast? Like a photon torpedo?
Lock and load! Fire!
Yeah, I know, that makes sense.
There's a Star Trek Voyager episode about this, where the Maquis had a planet-destroying missile that was self-guided and somehow wound up in the Delta Quadrant. And B'Elanna Torres had to disarm it because it was out of control.
She programmed it, right?
Yeah.
It was the suicide bomb or whatever.
Yes. In the event that they got killed, it would head towards Cardassia and blow up Cardassia, but it had like an AI in it, and it was like, I'm gonna go blow something else up.
Its targeting scanners have been activated.
And it's like, it could take out a whole fucking planet. So the rebellion needs to develop some serious long-range weapons. But do you remember when Finn came out of the hospital room with the costume on, leaking fluid all over the floor?
That was funny, wasn't it?
That was that whole sequence there when they get in disguise and they board the ship. That's like what we were talking about should have happened in Rogue One.
Their little heist plot though wasn't clever. They just said we got to go and turn off the beacon or whatever.
It wasn't so much that it wasn't clever, it's that it was a complete failure. It led to nothing.
They got betrayed by a character who we don't care about.
Yes.
Just like Lando betrayed Han Solo and friends. But that led Finn to meet up with Captain Phasma again.
So that they could fight and she could be easily defeated again.
Rich, do you remember when Finn fought Captain Phasma? And then she fell down into a fire pit.
Yes, I do.
And then he's like, okay, that's done. Now let's...
What's another thing I can do?
Do you remember when BB-8 was piloting an AT-ST? That when he made it walk and the top fell off so we could see that BB-8 was piloting it. And then everybody jumped on top of the AT-ST legs and were running. Do you remember when they climbed on top of a giant space ape?
You mean that sequence that was the climax of the film 30 minutes before the other climax of the film? Like Finn and Rose's adventure having no bearing on anything that happens in the movie.
Yeah.
She fell in love.
Well, her payoff, oh my God, that was the dumbest moment in the movie. They've got the laser battering ram to go through the door.
It's Death Star tech.
It's Death Star tech.
It's a miniature Death Star butthole that shoots out.
And Finn's driving, he's flying his ship right into it. He's gonna sacrifice himself to save everybody else. Rose rams her ship into his ship, which could potentially kill both of them, and then it wouldn't save anybody. And it doesn't save anybody.
Oh, I think I started laughing when she's having her speech, love is what will save us, while the big death laser is about to kill all of their friends.
Yeah. Finn was about to stop that, which would give his character a real thing to do in the movie, other than, nonsense side plot. He could save these people, but no, love. They went there to see that guy, and they failed, because everybody fails always. And then they found Benicio del Toro, who then betrayed them, so they failed again.
But they saved the animals.
Thank God.
No, you remember that was a bizarre moment too. She let one of those creatures go, and she's like, "That's the real victory." Because he's like, "Don't you remember that?" He's like, "It's really great that all these wild animals smashed up that casino. That's a great victory." And she goes, "No, letting this one go is a real victory." And that's when I thought we were being trolled. I'm like, this is just too dumb. This can't be real. I can't be seeing this. I'm gonna wake up suddenly and go, oh my gosh, today's the day I see The Last Jedi. I had a dream that it was really bad.
Was this whole movie, the making of this whole movie, just Rian Johnson realizing how horribly limited the Star Wars universe is?
Well, that's the problem, and there's a famous tweet by him. Someone asked him about how much of this was pre-planned, because they set up all these things in The Force Awakens. They set up Snoke, who's a mysterious figure. We don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about Rey's family. She's waiting for her family to come back. And Rian Johnson just bluntly explained, no. None of, they set up all these things in the first movie with no idea where they were gonna go. So he's coming into this project what the fuck do I do? I'll do nothing. Rey's family is they're nobody. They're nobody. Snoke is nobody.
I will take every way, you think everyone was like, oh, Rey's father is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
She has a little bit of a British accent, plus she has the Force. So everyone's kind of, and who is Snoke? Is he the reincarnation of Darth Sidious? Is he Darth Plagueis, the famous Sith Lord that Palpatine killed with his lightsaber? There was even a theory that Snoke is this elderly woman from the Star Wars prequels.
Is it B. Arthur from the holiday special?
Yes, I'm serious.
Really?
There's an old lady who has like these buns in her hair, and she wears like this yellow gold outfit, and her face kind of looks like Snoke. She was in the Phantom Menace or something as a secret Sith.
Wow.
A Phantom Menace, if you will. And so there's theories about that. So it's like he trolled all those people who had all their fan theories about all this bullshit, and he just said it's all nothing.
See, if those two
and
revelations...
then they tore down the concept of the Force and good and evil.
I'm okay with that. See,
the Force, the Jedi, what the fuck? Yoda burns down his own Jedi archives.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. That's the thing. Those three instances I'm okay with. If the movie was more focused,
well, sure.
I would think that would be... Because it's like, okay, good. Rey is not related to Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Because we always complain that all these characters, everyone's related to Skywalkers, so it's so limited. So the fact that she's just some person, like, that's great. So it's like, if those were the couple things where you're like, oh, he subverted what we were expecting to happen, that would be fine. It's just that the movie's got so many other things happening that have no connection to it and no purpose.
Jay, I completely agree with you on those 2 points.
Okay.
So Luke uses astral projection to make himself appear on a battlefield, and then things happen. But I guess he used so much of the Force that he died from it.
Yes, he was sacrificing himself. Although I don't know why he didn't just physically go there, because then he could still serve the same function, but potentially still live.
Luke Skywalker's pretty cool, but I don't think he could withstand the blasts of
I guess there's that part, yeah.
500 giant AT-AT walkers.
But he didn't know that was going to happen.
You could write it so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I know.
The idea of him showing up in person and sacrificing himself has a little more weight to it, because as it is, it's like he's just lazy.
They wanted that scene of him staring at the setting twin suns.
Which was a fine little moment, I guess. I don't mind that he died. It just feels like the kind of finality you would have in the third movie.
Yeah. No, there was a cut scene where he tried to start his X-Wing up and it wouldn't start.
Okay.
And he asked the Porgs for help. And then they're like, "Wah!"
The movie was originally 40 minutes longer.
Yeah.
It's just using the Force. He's trying to get it out of the water and
Got
it's
out of
stuck
the
on
water
something. Oh.
It's been sitting in the water for 30 years.
Sounds like the type of awkward comedy that would be in this movie, so.
He's under the hood. He's trying to get it to work.
Yeah, he just can't. So he's like,
He does something with the wrench and a whole bunch of seawater just spills out in his face.
I think, Rich, you said it best when you said Star Wars is creatively bankrupt, because I thought about that, like Leia and they Admiral Akbar died, and they show who's that, the one guy who piloted the Millennium Falcon with Lando, Nien Nub. The Nien Nub's there, and they're like, oh God, the Empire's going to overtake us and blow us up, and everyone's dead, and Nien Nub's like, and I just thought about 30 years ago, Nien Nub blew up the Death Star. And I'm like, how much longer can this conflict go on? How long can the resistance continue? And poor Leia, she looks so old. She's like an elderly woman, and she's still doing this.
Yeah.
And what else can they do? The answer is not much.
Unless you come up with a completely new story that has nothing to do with that conflict, which is probably Rian Johnson wanting to get away from that. I think that's kind of what he's trying to do with this movie. It's like The Force Awakens got in the way of doing a completely different Star Wars story.
You really don't, though, have a rich universe to set something new in, because all we know about the universe are these things they're rehashing.
Yeah.
All we know, Empire, Rebellion, TIE Fighter, AT-AT, lightsaber. These are all we know.
Yeah.
I think the idea of Luke being bitter and anti-Force, the Jedi were wrong, and he has clear reasons why. I like that.
Yeah, and the general theme of letting go of the past, I liked that. I liked pretty much anything with Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
He's the best character in the series.
Yeah, I really like Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. I think his performance and his character is so torn and nuanced.
Well, it's different, and that's again kind of the meta thing with in The Force Awakens, where he's essentially a Star Wars fanboy. He's a Darth Vader fanboy. Yeah. And that's interesting. So I liked that stuff. It's just that it's just such a muddled mess.
But I liked Rey in this more than the first one, because like Kylo, that was the most interesting part, because like Kylo, she wants answers, she wants to know what to do.
Yeah.
Luke's like, why did you come here? You know, what do you expect? And we all expected him to train her, and he starts training her. He's like, nope.
Yeah.
You know, and then she's like, fine, fuck you, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go get Kylo Ren and try to turn him to the good side.
Do our own thing.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
The First Order is blowing everything up, and I don't know what to do. I need some kind of help or guidance. That moment when her and Kylo kind of connect a little, and they kind of see eye to eye, and them working together to create something new, that would have been such a great direction to go in.
But then you don't have a third movie.
Yeah,
No,
maybe
you-
that's
you-
what the third movie's gonna be. I don't know.
You could. I mean, like taking the concept of the First Order and then having them power down their military machine and kind of return back to political life, kind of like reversing what Sidious did, backtracking it, and then reintegrating the rebellion and as members of this galactic society and all the stuff that could come with that. It could take it in a different direction. But now, next episode, guaranteed, giant super weapon that's shaped like a sphere that has a giant laser on it. That's what we're headed towards.
Look, as interesting as Rey teaming up with Ken to reform the First Order or do something new and different, that's just too smart for Star Wars.
I don't think it's too smart for Star Wars, because you can still, Star Wars stories are, aside from the prequels, which are a jumbled mess, they're all relatively simple. And you could do a relatively simple story with that, of them kind of rebuilding, you know, a society.
Then who do they shoot?
Yeah. Who do you blow up?
Maybe you just don't.
Oh, then it's too smart for Star Wars.
God damn it! It's so weird too with that idea when you think about like those original movies. They're just solid kind of fantasy movies. It's not like some grand, like there's world building in them, but it's not some epic tale.
Yeah.
It'd be like making a whole universe out of Back to the Future. Where it's like those are just 3 movies that were solid movies, and then that's kind of it. Like you can't have an expanded universe for Back to the Future.
But it's too profitable, and they can't leave this alone. They have to keep trying something. Yeah. And it's going to be just the same things rearranged.
I guess that's the frustrating part about this movie, is that there are attempts at new ideas.
Yes.
To take it in a different direction, but it still feels like more of the same, despite that.
At the end of the day, we have man with a lightsaber and black armor with a giant army fighting a small band of rebels with a young, inexperienced Jedi helping them. At the end of the day, that's what you have. That's what Star Wars is. It's always going to be some variation on that.
I can't believe what I just saw.
It was the best thing ever.
I gotta go watch this trailer like 300 times and then watch it again another 300 times.
The online community of people talking about Star Wars, it's just like a race to see who can either hate the movies the most or who can be the most contrarian. It's like the contrarian Olympics.
And everyone wins a gold medal.
Everybody wins.
Well, you talked about the original trilogy, and it's like people responded to those movies with such fandom and excitement because they liked the movies, and now that's inverted. Now they're responding
It's
to
more about the brand.
the brand, and before the movie comes out, like those Star Wars like fan conventions. What are they called? Disney Expo.
Star Wars Celebration.
The Star Wars Celebration, where they're like, here's the trailer, and it's like an auditorium of like 50,000 people, and they're all like cheering, and you know they have people up there, and it's like a political rally, and you know Kathleen Kennedy's like pounding her fists on a podium, and you know everyone's like holding up signs, so you have this weird flock mentality, sheep mentality of people that are just like blind fans to this. It's almost like a cult now. And then the movie comes out and everybody hates it. And then they say, here's another one for you, and everyone fills up that auditorium again and starts like cheering. It's like grown-ups acting like children. Like children cheer for movie trailers. Children cheer.
Yeah.
I cried the whole time.
Or you wait till the movie comes out, you watch it, either you like it or you don't, and then you move on with your life.
We do like post-mortem, you know. We look at all the things in it, what went wrong, what went right, you know. We tend to break things down, but like you said, it's very black or white with some of the people out there where they're just like, fuck you, you know. Yeah. And it's strange. I think to me the strangest part is people just like screaming their heads off. It's like Beatlemania. Make another Beatles reference. It's like the girls screaming on the Ed Sullivan Show for something, except it's grown men and women.
Men, mostly.
Mostly men. Wearing like Porg costumes, they're in their 40s, and they're like pulling their hair out and screaming, and it's almost like conditioned like a political rally. Yeah. That's kind of what I mean, where it's like our political candidate can do no wrong. They're perfect in every way. Look at our political candidate. You know, it's even those behind the scenes things on like The Force Awakens or the Rogue One Blu-ray. Have you ever watched any of those?
No.
They're very calculated.
They're so glossy, and everyone got along great on set, and this is such a beautiful experience, and our political candidate can do no wrong.
Contrast that with the Phantom Menace behind the scenes.
Yes. Yes.
If I forget to say action or cut, just step in and say action and cut. I manage action and cut and faster and more intense. And then mostly I sit there looking miserable and quiet.
It makes you even look back on the original trilogy and even the prequel trilogy to a certain extent and appreciate like the realness of it. Now it feels like there's a gloss over everything and you can't really see what's behind the glass.
Welcome to Disney.
The way I approached how we would go about making episode 7 wasn't any different than what we would do with any large tentpole movie today.
There was a period, a very brief period of time, when Star Wars was just a series of well-liked blockbusters. Mm-hmm. And now it's not special anymore.
And for the record, I don't think this is terrible. It's sporadically interesting. Isn't that an accurate statement?
That's a very good quote.
Yes.
Jay, you once said, I will know if I want to keep watching the Star Wars movies based on The Last Jedi.
Yes, that was my whole thing, was like, yeah, Force Awakens is a rehash, but it does a good job of capturing the spirit of Star Wars. And now that it's out of the way, the second movie is the time to become its own thing. Mm-hmm. This is not including any of the side movies or whatever. This is the main story.
And the prognosis?
This movie does its own thing, kind of. But by the end of it, I wasn't like interested in knowing what happens to any of these characters after this. This movie feels like it has sort of a finality to it. And it feels like the last movie in a trilogy.
That's what I was gonna say. Where can you go from here?
And that's the problem. I'm not terribly excited or interested to see where they go next.
The only thing they have to work with is we have to shoot and kill Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
We're gonna fight the bad guys. Not we have to get Han back, not, I just learned this horrible thing about my father, what do I do? Yeah. There's like nowhere to grow. No, it wasn't because he wasn't trained how to use a lightsaber, but she still beat Kylo Ren.
This one, no.
Unsubscribed. She's a Mary Sue.
She ain't no fucking Mary Sue in this one. Everybody fails. Nobody's a Mary Sue. See you again in 2 years for the next one.
When they just have to blow up a super weapon and she has to get into a lightsaber fight with Kylo Ren again. Because they can't do anything new or interesting with Star Wars. They just can't. It's not there. I'm sorry. You've wasted your life and your fandom.
You know what would be great is if the next like Star Wars, what is it, Fandom?
Star Wars Celebration.
Celebration. It's just like 11 people scattered throughout this giant auditorium.
Well, that's not gonna happen, and you know it. It's not gonna happen, you know it.
And then they go, can everyone come down to the front row? You all don't have to spread around. We can see you closer if you come down to the front.
We've got a very special guest. We've got Anthony Daniels here. You want to see him, right?
Oh, let me talk about how C-3PO changed the world.
I can't wait for the 10th movie. in the series, where Rey's child has grown up to worship Kylo Ren, and then he betrays the Jedi Order and becomes a Sith Lord, and teams up with a previously unseen Sith Lord. And then Rey gets upset by that, so she goes in hiding on a planet, and then a new kid has to show up who's got some Force. And he teams up with Maz Kanata on the Millennium Falcon.
Is there a super weapon?
Yeah, of course. There's going to be a gas giant is going to turn into a new Death Star. Because it's going to be a much bigger planet than the other one. It's going to be like the laser's going to come out of Jupiter's spot. This Death Star's also going to have a Jupiter spot that just shoots giant lasers that destroy it destroys like half the galaxy.
Rich, stop giving them ideas.
And then Luke's ghost is going to show up and use lightning to burn down a tree.
Oh well, fuck it.
It's gonna go in new and exciting directions. Yet it's going to be horribly familiar.
I think the big question that people have is like, did we hate this movie or did we love it? And as we went into detail on it, it's complicated.
I think the important thing is, though, I'm not at all excited for the next one. I have no idea where they're going for it. I have no idea where they're going with it. And there's like no interesting developments.
Yeah, The Force Awakens ended on an obvious cliffhanger. What's going to happen?
I want to see what these characters do next.
Yeah, I want to see what Luke Skywalker does. I want to see what happens with Rey.
Yeah, I think that's the most damning thing is, there's nothing really to anticipate with the next one. Right.
This is the setup to the Star Wars Saturday morning cartoon where every week the Resistance has to fight the evil forces of Kylo Ren and the First Order.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Well, that's great because we're going to have a movie every week. So I guess you know if you're going to watch Star Wars movies or not. You don't need our recommendation or no recommendation.
Okay, bye.
That's all. Thank you. Thank you. We're sorry this review was so late. Again, we'd like to mention our sponsor, Fandango. Put your credit card in, pay for your movie tickets, show up at the theater, and then don't get your movie tickets.